Hello, everybody, and welcome to Empire's Podcast of the Week. As you guys know, I am your host, Stephen Ogden. It's good to see you guys. It's good to be here. Good to be able to speak to you, get out of my little environment, and be a part of my community. Today's podcast is going to be on mental health and the lack of treatment behind the walls. I'm going to talk about a few guys in here, their experiences, my experiences. I'm going to talk about what correctional officers go through, their mental health, how much more likely they are to have mental health than other law enforcement. I'm going to talk about solutions to these problems also. As you guys know, I love solutions. So before we get started, let me tell you guys a little bit about my week and what's been going on in my life and how I'm doing and what's been going on in here. I don't know, I would say about a week and a half ago in the pod next door to me, we had a very serious assault, multiple assaults actually. We had some guys drunk on homemade liquor. They had a little mini riot, 5-on-5, 4-on-4, something like that, attacking each other, drunk. One guy lost a bunch of teeth, had to get stitches in his mouth and in his face, and it was really sad, man. Almost lost his life over alcohol, substance abuse, which is a side effect to mental health. Actually, they say, substance abuse is a mental health condition. So, that's what happened. And after this assault, after this little melee took place, the police came in and all the guys that didn't do anything wrong, that had actually stayed out of it and not involved themselves in it, weren't drinking, weren't part of the problem. They came in, they shook us down. And by shakedown, let me give you the definition of that, is they come in and they search our cells, and anything that they deem as contraband, they take. If it's not on your property list, they take it. If it's altered, they take it. If they're pissed off and they want to make something stand out to us, they take it. They want to, get a lesson heard. Lesson learned. They take our stuff. And, I want you to think about coming home to your house and finding it in disarray, missing your stuff and, seeing pictures of your family members balled up and thrown on the floor, torn off the wall. Excuse my language, they call it a fuck you shakedown. There was a big problem and they say, screw you, this is what you get. Even though we didn't have a problem. We weren't part of it. That exasperates our mental health conditions in here. But I don't want to, make this all about that, but that's what I've been going through the last couple weeks. We've been having to deal with that. We've been having to deal with the fallout from that. I got to watch my grandfather's funeral, though. That's a plus. That really actually helped me. I got to be a part of that. I got to see my grandfather laid to rest. He was a hero to me. Not too many people get to be a part of that from in here, but my father went through the right channels, mailed the DVD in, and I got to see that. So I was really, it was bittersweet. I was happy to see my family all together. It was just sad seeing, it was around my grandfather passing. But it was his time, and, I got to be a part of it. Moving on, let's talk about mental health behind the walls. And I want to start off with a very, very important statistic. 95% of all offenders that are incarcerated are coming home. They're getting out. They're going to the community. Now, how many of those 95% of offenders, inmates, ex-convicts, whatever you want to call us, how many of us are mentally ill? So 95% of us are coming home, and a large percentage of them are mentally ill. Do you want them coming home worse, or do you want them coming home better? They're going to be your neighbor. They're going to be in your grocery store. They're going to be eating at the restaurants you eat at. They're going to be working for a company that maybe mows your lawn or builds your home, or, there's a number of things that, we're going to be a part of when we get out there. So do you want us coming home better or worse? That's the number one question. And right now we're coming home worse. Our mental health in here is an emergency. That's what I say. I say that there's such a large portion of people in here with mental health issues that it's not a joke. It's not funny. It's horrible. And we're not getting treatment in here. and I'll get into that a little bit more here in a minute. But I really want you guys to think about some solutions to that. And, what are those solutions going to be? How can we get mental health in here? How can we get treatment in here? I got a buddy in here who is part of this, and I've been speaking with him. He actually has depression tattooed, and you can't really see it, but right here on his arm is, if you see right here, it says depression. And then the tattoo itself says depression, when everything you laugh at is miserable and you can't seem to stop. That is his definition for depression. He has a tattoo on his arm. That's one guy in here. Let me tell you about Brian. Brian was in the foster care system. He came from an abusive home. He had a lot of trauma growing up. Myself, I was in foster home. I came from an alcoholic mother. All of us in here are like that. But Brian was in the system as a juvenile. He left the system and he went to the military, where he was seen combat, ended up with PTSD. After his stint in the military was over, he committed a crime and got the rest of his life in prison. I don't want to get into his personal stuff, but he's never getting out. Brian has extreme mental health conditions, and he's one of the guys that I really spoke to and sat down and talked with before I did this podcast. And one of his biggest issues, besides depression, is anxiety. And after speaking to a lot of other people, that's what I hear the most about, is anxiety. So I want you guys to think about a facility of inmates full to the brim, overcrowded, every single one of them having anxiety, just about. What stems from anxiety? What are the side effects from anxiety? What happens? One of the biggest things that I was surprised that people admitted, is probably because they were talking to me, impulse control. When their anxiety gets up, they can't control their impulses. When their anxiety's up, their anger, their frustration, their fear, everything is, it blows up, and they can't control it. One of the big things that happens is you're locked in your cell when you're having one of these episodes. I talked to you guys about it with my solitary confinement, my panic attack because of my anxiety from being in that cell. Well, that's what happens. We get stuck in a cell with our anxiety through the roof. And then imagine having a cellmate, and a cellmate that has anxiety too, and a cellmate that you might not get along with, that might not be your friend. He just lives in there, and then imagine having that impulse control problem with it. Where does that lead? What kind of problems happen? What are the solutions to that? How can we get help with our anxiety? How can Brian, who's, seen combat, lived in the foster care system, been incarcerated, everything that he's been through, what kind of help can a guy like that get in a place like this where everybody needs help? What kind of classes are there? Where I'm at, there's none. They might tell you guys in society, hey, we got $55,000. We're helping these guys. $55,000 per inmate. They're getting the help that they need. Well, I'm going to tell you guys flat out, where I'm at, that's not true. We are not getting the help that we need for these mental health conditions. Myself, I have anxiety. I've been diagnosed. I've been diagnosed with depression. Let me think of how to articulate what I go through on a daily basis. My anxiety gets up when my depression gets down. There's a number of factors with my depression. My depression a lot of times leads to substance abuse issues. How do they treat my depression in here? I get a pill called Rimron. Because of my anxiety, I can't sleep at night. My mind gets racing. I get I just thoughts of everything going on. What's my family doing? What's my family not doing? My dad's got COVID. Is he going to be okay? Just a number of things going through my mind. I have trouble sleeping at night. So they give me a pill. I hate it. I don't like having that pill because I wake up and I feel hungover. I struggle with that. I don't like it. For my substance abuse issue, they give me Suboxone. I'm blessed for that. I'm not going to argue that and say in any way that Suboxone helps me. It kills my cravings. It does all that. but medication. That's what I hear. You know, everybody in here is medicated. That's how they're dealing with this problem. Give them a pill. They'll be okay. What about therapy? What about trauma therapy? What about classes? 7 Habits for Highly Effective People, strategies for self-improvement, anger management, you know, coping skills. There's a ton of classes that we could be getting back here, in here, that we're not. I was in the county jail, and they gave me a therapist this last time, and her name was Caroline. And Caroline was a godsend. Caroline helped me through so much stuff that I can't even begin to, you know what I mean? She would bring in flashcards, and these flashcards all had, you know, different words on them. What it came down to was she was able to use these cards to figure out what my issues were, what I needed help with. And it was an amazing thing. She helped me with my depression. She helped me with my trauma. We brought up so much stuff, but I got help. I get to prison, and I get none of that. I was involved in a program in Denver County Jail. It's called the Men's Transition Unit, 22A. I had a doctor named Jennifer Gafford. I had a therapist named Stephanie, and I had a diversion officer named Andrew. This team worked together, and not only did I get a little medication, but they helped me with everything that you could imagine, coping skills, everything I'm talking about. And what I learned in that place was that there was compassion, that it wasn't about the Department of Corrections, punishment, vengeance, get these guys feeling as miserable as possible and do that for the rest of their time. That's not what it was about. It was about help. I want to see that happen in the Department of Corrections. It's not happening here. If there's some way that we can come up with a solution to get everybody help. I'm not talking about 5 people in a yard full of 1,500. I'm talking about every single one of these guys that need trauma therapy, get them therapy. Whether it's a hotline, whether it's a video visit, whether it is in person. It needs to be done. I'm running out of time. I wish I had more, guys. Visits are short. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being a part of Empire's podcast this week. I got 15 seconds. I want to give a shout out to Abby Jefferson. She's coming on. She's going to be a part of it. She's going to be introducing herself. So look for Abby in the future. Join our Facebook group page, Empire Corp on Facebook. Thanks for being here. You guys take care.